every day to the world and to your heart. Open up your eyes and let your spirit start. Say yes to the dreams you hold inside. Let your soul be your guide.
In a world where guidance and expertise is the difference maker, we are proud to have the #1 coaching and consulting company sponsoring Wednesday Wisdom. 2020 Vision for Success Coaching and Consulting sets the bar with their vast array of services spanning financial forensic support, executive coaching, all the way to the most robust loan originator business school in the nation. With a proven track record backed by dozens of combined years in mortgage and real estate expertise, 2020 Vision Success Coaching has the most diverse, in-depth, and intuitive professional development platform in the nation. Visit www.visionyoursuccess.net and check them out, or email solutions@visionyoursuccess.net for a free, no pressure, complimentary discovery call. You will be surprised. Affordable consulting with a rich expertise. Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Wednesday Wisdom. Today, we are joined by the incredible and amazing Toshia Drummond. She is a mortgage broker at Approved Mortgage Solutions. Before we get started, I had the joy and honor of, well, two things. One, serving on the NAM DE&I committee with Toshia, but also we got to spend some time in Washington, D.C. at the NAM event. And I just have to tell you, I mean, listen, Toshia and I were speaking before we hit record, and I want everyone that's listening to us today, if nothing else, realize that when you have the opportunity to meet someone new, someone that you haven't had the joy of connecting with before, take that time to truly get to know them. Take that time to listen, to learn, to absorb, and be able to grow through those relationships. Because we all know in real estate and mortgage, it's all about relationships. Absolutely. So with that, Toshia, thank you so much for joining us today. And we're gonna jump right into this. Okay. So on Wednesday Wisdom, what we love to do is first we go to the past, and we like to hear what was one of the best pieces of advice or something that you learned from someone that you have now applied to the rest of your life. And by all means, if it was an individual, let's give them a shout out.
Of course, I love shout outs. And thank you for having me on today. I got to tell you, it's so funny. And I often tell this story, and people think that I'm just saying it, but it's the truth. So in my other life, I was an educator. So I was a teacher, and I did all of the educational background to be a teacher. And I loved it. One day I walked into my mom's house, my mom and dad. And out of nowhere, my father said, you know what, you should go and be a real estate agent or broker, whatever. Did you ever think about going into real estate? And I was looking at him like, okay, so you're telling me to go into real estate after going to college with the master's degree, with a BA, a master's, working on the PhD at that time, go into real estate? So I was like, wow, never thought about it. Never did. Never. Fast forward, a couple of days later, I looked into what it looked like to go into real estate. What did I have to do? Could I go and I don't want to go back to college for real estate, but I went during my spring break as a teacher, took the course and passed the course and became a real estate agent. And I know people are probably saying, why are you telling that story? Because I got to tell you, it changed the trajectory of my life in a major way. Financially, my network grew, and I never looked back. So I ended up transitioning from teaching to being a real estate broker, real estate agent, then real estate broker. The beautiful part about that was that I was still able to educate. And I think that was like the greatest joy of me being a real estate agent was I can still educate, but I'm educating adults.
Yeah.
So I mean that and of course my father told me a lot of great things. My mother told me a lot of great things, but that was the one thing that stood out in my adult life. And with their work ethics, my parents, it was
Oh.
like, wow, like why not? And
So,
that's where my
Tasha,
success
a
came.
couple of questions. All right. So,
Mhm.
number one, what year is this that happened?
Ooh, 24. This
Wait,
is my 24th year as a
so it
real
was
estate agent.
2000. So it was in 2000.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
And
Okay, because I'm trying to like picture this, right? I'm
it
picturing
wasn't
this
when the
image here.
market was like booming. It was
No,
not. It was
no.
before that.
And the rates, if I remember, I'm trying to
Were
go back in
high.
my brain, the rates were higher,
Yes, they
right?
were.
Rates were higher, prices, of course, were much lower, but it's
Of course.
all
Yes.
relative to what people were making then. And
Uh-huh.
I also am curious, did you ever ask your father, like, why he ever said that?
I did. I did. I was like, what? No, I asked him that day. I said, real estate? What made you think about real estate? He said, that's how you're going to become wealthy. You're going to come wealthy through real estate
Wow.
because we can buy homes, we can sell homes. My father is from the Caribbean. He's from Jamaica, but he had a mindset to be wealthy.
Wow.
Like he really pushed us to do that, and his work ethic showed it. And
Yeah.
I followed his leads. My brothers followed his lead to just work hard at what you wanted. But yeah, he saw a bigger picture than, everybody was like, oh, you would have been by now, you would have been a superintendent of schools and da, 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 da. And I'm like, oh, little do they know. I don't want any of that.
But you know what did happen, Tasha, is what you said. You were able to take that education. You were able to take that passion for
Absolutely.
sharing knowledge and for almost coaching, right? Because now you're adding a little bit of knowledge along with
Definitely
coaching,
coaching. Yes.
right? And apply it to another new passion, right?
Yeah.
And you said it, generational wealth. We all know
Oh, wow.
the major, easiest, most accessible way to build generational wealth is through real
Real
estate.
estate.
We
Yes.
know that, right? So
Mhm.
your father, number one, wise man, your parents, wise people to be able to
Yeah.
do that. And
Mhm.
even that, it makes me giggle because a lot of times when we're young or even with our own kids, we say things and it's kind of like, oh, whatever, right? Like you kind of, but then you always look back and you're like, man, they were so smart or they were so
Right.
wise in
Yes.
sharing that with us, right?
Yeah. And that was the crazy thing. Like I listened
Yeah.
and I was like, this sounds interesting. And I gotta tell you, I was doing it, I was teaching and doing real estate, but during my first 2 or 3 years, I had some clients that I guess they were notable clients that their purchases at that time, I made more with their purchases than my full salary
Yeah, your
of
whole, yeah.
teaching
Mm-hmm.
for a year.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw those numbers and I saw the financial stability that could come out of real estate, I forged ahead and
Yeah.
said, you know what? Let's make this happen. And that
But I know you never officially cut that tie. Like I know just from the information you've shared at the NAM event that you were able to merge those two things together, which is
absolutely.
another lesson, everyone. So many times we think we have to cut the cord and step away from things, but
Mm-mm.
Tasha, tell us a little bit about how you can, right? I mean, you can give your own specific, but it's
Okay.
not just education and real estate. Like, how can you take other experiences and other things you love to do and maybe things that you've stepped away from, but then merge it into your future self?
I am a proponent. I am a big believer in building relationships. A lot of people, that's the buzzword now. Oh, you got to build relationships. You got to build. I've done it. I've done it for all of my life because that's how I grew up in the church, number one.
Right.
So I am a believer, and the church, that's almost like a extended family. So I had my church, I had the school, I had my college family, I had my biological family. So I had a lot of different relationships and positive influences that helped me forge those relationships. But I got to tell you, I think that the biggest thing, and I think why my relationships are still so strong, is because I respect everybody the way that I want them to respect me. Regardless to whether I'm working with, now I'm doing mortgages a lot more. I do mortgages. I am still licensed in real estate, but mortgages is my passion because I'm really trying to help people attain home ownership. And I think it starts with financing. But it's so important that regardless to if a person comes to me with a pre-approval of 200,000 or one that comes for $1 million, they're still the same.
Yeah.
You still have to respect the individual, and you have to treat them with the same respect that you would expect them, and it has to be reciprocated. So I think that's what I love more than anything, is that I treat people like people. I treat them like they're my family. Like they enter into my office as clients and they leave as family. So
Wow. Tasha, I can literally feel that as you're saying it, right? I can
right.
feel it. And it is authentic, and it is how you live your life, right? This
Yes.
isn't about business. This is life as a whole. And I
Yes.
think that, that kind of answers the question that I normally flow into of how are you applying that advice? I think that sums up exactly how you're applying it, because this isn't just about real estate or just about mortgage or just
Right.
about education. It's collectively as a whole of a mutual respect for everyone that enters into your sphere, wherever which way that they come into your sphere.
Yes.
You
Yes.
provide them with that level of respect that you would expect back. And this is one of my favorite things, because I realized at some point in my life that this doesn't always happen. And I'll say this because you're someone that does it. Okay. And what that is, you see people. And I know that seems simple, but it's not.
Mm-mm.
So many times people go through life just kind of passing by, and they never take the moment to truly see that person. They don't see the outside. They don't necessarily see their bank account. They don't see their credit score, right? Those are just factors. Actually see the person. And I know from how passionate you are in helping your community and making sure that, we were having a conversation about programs and products and wholesale lending and just options
Yes.
and DPAs. And we were
Yes.
thinking about things like that, where you're like, listen, we know there's affordability issues here, and they're not just going to go away. Like, we have to address them. We have to have conversations. Yes, these are difficult conversations, but how are we going to, at the end of the day, make a difference if we're not seeing people? So I'd love to hear your response on that.
It's all about advocacy. I think that is, as I'm growing older and I'm more seasoned, I've realized that, people need us more than ever. And I think that people perish for the lack of knowledge. When they don't know, they don't know. So we really have to advocate on behalf of those individuals who really don't know which way to turn. Like literally, you have people, they're very educated, they're smart, they know all of this stuff, but they don't know housing. They don't know financing. They don't know about real estate. So we have to embrace them and meet them where they are. You have to meet them where they are. If I have to sit and have a conversation with you for an hour for you to get it, I have to have the patience to do that. If I'm really saying that I'm advocating on your behalf, it's bigger than money. It's
For
bigger than
sure.
money. And I know I think a lot of the professionals that I surround myself in my space, we all feel the same way because it's more important to me to um, for somebody to attain homeownership than for me to make a dollar because I have a home, but I see people who are actually homeless and they need to be able to do that. So I sit down and I do a lot of counseling more. I almost feel like I'm a counselor sometimes
You
because I
are.
spend
You are.
hours and hours on the phone with individuals, just helping them understand the process. So,
Well, Tasha, you just, touched a little bit on it of something that really, really hit me when you were on that panel where you said these are working homeless. Touch a little bit on that because I know that hit my heart, and I'd like you to share that for all of our mortgage and real estate professionals that are listening to this. This
yeah.
is a point you really need to listen up.
Yeah, so we do have the working homeless, and I am in South Florida. So some of my counterparts, they may say, "Well, I don't quite understand that." But the reason I say that we're dealing with the working homeless is because I was an educator, as I stated before, and hardly any of my teachers, and I'm saying my teachers, anybody who works for the school board in Broward, Dade, Palm Beach County, when they come in to purchase a home, they really cannot afford to purchase a home. They cannot. So a lot of them are having to live 2 and 3 families in one home, or they would be homeless
Wow.
because they can't afford to do it. And to add insult to injury, the properties that they could afford, the condos, now we can't get financing because either the deductibles are too high or they don't have reserves. So they're really stuck with their family members. I literally had a property, and I shared the story with people because I want people to understand that I practice what I preach. Um, I had a property that just my tenant had just vacated, and I had 2 families, working people, who were really sleeping in the car or had to go to the shelters. So I found myself with a rooming house. I literally split the rental and let 2 families stay in a rental until they can do better, which I was like, it was sort of disheartening, but I was also grateful
Right.
that I was able to do that. But that's what's happening more and more. I hear more people saying, I'm renting rooms. Wow, it's crazy. But they want to buy properties, they just can't afford it.
Yeah.
And the grants, they can't qualify. They're the working homeless. And these are not people who are not educated, who are
Right.
not working full-time jobs. It's just that the cost of living here, they're being priced out. And as I stated in one of our other conversations, that listen, they have to really, the mindset has to change, the mind shift has to change. Unfortunately, even though you lived in South Florida all your life, you're gonna have to move to a different state because it's just the affordability is not in South Florida right now. So
Wow. And thank you for sharing that because especially, for people that are not in your area, maybe
mhm,
they can't relate to that. Maybe they don't understand that.
right.
And like we keep saying, until there is awareness to where we are having these
Mhm,
conversations, that's
mhm.
step one of us trying to come up with solutions, right? But we
Yeah.
have to have these conversations. So thank you for that.
And the sadder part is, and just to add this, the
Yeah,
rents are even higher than the
I
mortgages.
know.
So it's like, okay,
Right. Exactly. A
yes.
point well taken. Yes, you are
Yes, yes,
correct.
yes, yes.
You are right. All right. Well, Tasha, you are just filled with information and we love hearing your journey. So now we're at the point. We've heard the great advice from your parents. We see how you're applying it. Now, what we'd love to hear at this moment is what's Tasha's advice that you would like to share with all of our listeners?
2 things. Advocacy, advocacy, advocacy. Please advocate. Help each other. Share your knowledge. Do what you can do to be a blessing to others. That's what I love. That's my mantra. I just advocate. Be there for others. And then the other thing is to embrace your potential. And the reason I said to embrace your potential is because sometimes we're sort of hard on ourselves because we're afraid to make moves or take steps. But you can't be like that. If you feel like there's something that you want to make happen, make it happen. Embrace your potential.
I love that, love that, love that. That was almost a moment where I was waiting. I was feeling like preach, like I wanted to preach that, like that was like a message, like everyone needs to hear that. That is very powerful. Both of those things. Number one, yes, we are the professionals. So we do have to advocate and we do have that role to take care of our community. So that, yes. And then our potential part, I mean, listen, we all know we're all unique beings. Every single one of us is different. Every single one of us was born with special, unique gifts and talent.
Yes.
And we're not the same. We're all different. So when you feel your gifts and your talents and your everything that you have is not being put to the highest potential, then maybe you need to figure out ways to apply it in many different things. Like you said, Tasha said, Laura, yes, I know a mortgage broker, but man, I'm doing lots of things. Yes, you are. You're
lots of hats.
all different things and spreading those gifts. So
and you know what, with you saying to embrace it, I used to say to my students, you are the wow factor. You are. In your own unique way. In your own unique way. You are the wow factor. Yes.
On that note, Tasha, thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing all of this. For those of you out there, make sure you follow Tasha. Her social media is amazing. You'll be uplifted, and she will educate you about what's going on in her market. So if anybody else is out there and you're in a different market, you're experiencing some things that you would like, reach out, connect to her. She is a great asset to our industry.
Thank you. And thank you for being you.
I can't be anybody else. Take care, Tasha.
Okay, take care.